Good evening and welcome to our Meet the Candidates portion of the evening. My name is Karen Nerney. I'm a communications specialist with Capital Region BOCES serving Mohonasen, and I'm happy to be here tonight to help manage this process. We have 4 candidates who are running for 2 spots on the Board of Education, and just as a reminder, this evening is intended to be an opportunity for our candidates to share their views on school-related issues. This is not intended to be a debate, so as such, we will not have a cross-talk format, but rather question and answer format with timed answers. We will rotate the questions, starting with Mrs. Escobar here with the first question and go down the line, and then Mr. Piccirillo, you'll receive the second question first, and so forth. I do have some prepared questions. We've also received several questions from the audience, so I'll ask a few of my questions and then some of the audience questions, and we'll just kind of see how the time goes. The candidates each have 3 minutes for opening remarks. They will have up to 2 minutes to answer each of the questions, and then we'll end the evening with a 1-minute closing statement from each candidate. Mr. Roberti has agreed to serve as our timer, and he will provide the candidates. That's right. Well, we figured the numbers guy can handle the numbers on the clock too. Yeah.
There will be a buzzer that is called radar.
So, in the 1-minute piece, which is really just at the end, he'll give you a 30-second warning, and the other, he will give you both a 1-minute and a 30-second warning on your time. Again, I will remind you, we are recording this, and we will post links to the recordings on the website. As was mentioned earlier, the microphones are very sensitive. I'm going to try to keep my paper rustling to a minimum as well, but if you just keep that in mind as you're going along, it will pick up all little sounds. Okay, so the bottom line is, sort of keep it professional. Please keep your comments to the issues at hand and not on personal attacks, and we will get started. So we will start with opening statements. Mrs. Escobar, you may go first.
To thank everyone for this opportunity to tell you something about myself and why I'm doing this, why I'm running for the school board, even though it's kind of frightening. I retired from Guilderland School District in 2014 with 23 years of teaching a gifted and talented program. When I first began teaching, schools sought to develop lifelong learners who would acquire what we called intrinsic innate thirst for knowledge. In other words, to make them lifelong learners. And we taught critical thinking so our students would analyze information and make good decisions in their life. We individualized and differentiated lessons to reach varied interests and abilities. We wrote curriculum which used teacher-developed state standards as a roadmap for the skills and concepts students needed to learn. We emphasized project-based learning and authentic assessments. Our schools were alive with historical reenactments, wellness, career days, debates, outdoor learning, service projects, character education, all kinds of creative and energetic projects that were often interdisciplinary in nature. State standardized tests were a minor part of the calendar, at first given only in grade 8 and then grade 4. They were written and scored by teachers and gave teachers access to item analysis that informed their instruction and allowed for remediation. They were not high-stakes tests. During the last few years of my career, I saw a change. Common Core came in, data-driven instruction, and test and punish became the norm. I saw the state systematically defunding schools through the gap elimination adjustment and also cutbacks on foundation aid, forcing schools to cut valuable programs, and I just heard that Mohonasen lost a number of staff during that time. Como said he wanted to break the public school monopoly, and he dined at $2,500 plate fundraisers for charters. What I've learned is that those who are behind all these reforms and Common Core testing are furthering the cause of a charter industry that seeks to privatize our schools for their profit. More money is to be made by testing publishing and tech corporations, billions of dollars paid out for lobbying and promoting this agenda. And I and many others stand up to say to them that our children are not a profit market. They are not a bottom line on a corporation ledger. They deserve the best education we can give them. That's what I stand for. I've become an activist. I've lobbied at the state and federal level. I've developed a blog that I write about these issues, and I hope to bring my expertise and knowledge to our home district. Thank you.
Mr. Piccirillo.
Good evening, everyone. First, Dr. Spring and our assistants, superintendent, thank you for hosting this event, and Karen Nerney, thank you for being the unsung hero and all the work that you've done, not only this, but with the budget letter. It's great work, and I thank everyone for coming out. First, Heather, I don't really know you yet, but I know you have a young family, and I appreciate you stepping up. The commitment as a young with a young family, I think, is admirable, and that's when we want to get the families, is when they're young. So thank you for stepping up. Gary's a good friend. I've spoken with him, and be a good friend regardless of how this turns out. I appreciate your work, not only with the community, but your philanthropic work, getting kids fed. So Gary's a great guy, and I'm looking forward to continuing our friendship. If you vote for one person tonight, vote for Deb Escobar, and I mean that with all sincerity. Listen, anyone that would spend 23 years in the trenches, and the trenches is a metaphor for teaching, and then not want to go to Florida and snowbird, instead stepping up to be an advocate for our students and our faculty, my kudos. So congratulations, and it's great to have you aboard. Quickly, I'm a lifetime resident of Rotterdam. I attended Draper schools K through 7. My parents were Italian immigrants that came here with nothing. In 1977, they bought their dream house. We moved across town to Anthony Drive, where I attended Mohonasen and graduated. My wife and I made a clear choice to raise our family here in Mohonasen. Last fall, I had the privilege to speak to the faculty and staff as board president. And one of the things I talked to him about was that I really emulated General and Secretary of State Colin Powell. He spent his life serving his country, both in peacetime and wartime, spent his life in public service, and then he spoke of his avocation, which is education. And I had the opportunity to attend an education conference, and this quote from him really inspired me. We need to understand that we as citizens in any community throughout this country have no more important obligation than to educate those who are going to replace us. And that's what inspired me, and that's why I'm here. I was inspired to make a contribution in education, and I got more involved outside of my children's activities within the Mohonasen community. One of the things I noticed on occasion was a lack of community engagement or a lack of involvement. I don't want to call it apathy, but certainly not where I thought it should be. Really what it took was a polarizing topic, and I'm going to mention it, it's Common Core. And what I found as this topic evolved is that difficult issues ignite passion, and passion can lead to debate and discussion. And discussion can lead to collaboration, and collaboration can lead to growth. And that's really what I hope and aspire that we've found over this time. When it's done right, we can grow and we can get better. And I point to the budget vote from last year. It was a polarizing issue. Give me a minute and I'll sell back time. All right. I didn't get my 30-second warning either, did I? Oh, okay. Last year we had the highest plurality of budget approval in recent years that I can recall, and it took that debate and that passion to bring that out. We have hard topics ahead. Common Core, certainly one of them, the budget assault, unfunded mandates, demographic changes in our community, the increasing needs for the special needs students who need our help the most, and accepting the transgender population and treating them with dignity and respect that they deserve. These are all hard issues, but hard does not mean hopeless. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you. I owe them some time, so make sure you give them a little extra. Thank you.
Quinn.
Hello, thank you for having me here tonight. I am very, very excited to be a part of this tonight, as well as a potential candidate for the Board of Education. As you can see, my name is Heather Quinn. I am first and foremost a parent to 3 young boys in the Mohonasen Central School District. My husband and I are actually not from this area and decided to move to the Albany area and chose Mohonasen as our home school district. So we have been here since our children were born. Second to being a parent to the district, I am also a school administrator. I'm a school administrator at a program very local to here that serves students with very significant special needs. I want to be a candidate for the Board of Education because I believe that I am solution focused, I'm determined, I'm driven, I believe in children. I believe in educating the whole child. I believe in all of the wonderful things that Mohonasen is doing. I also do see that there have been changes in education, and I want to be a part of that change. I believe in engaging our teachers and our administrators and our elected officials and all the different changes that have occurred in education, and I want to move forward with Mohonasen. Throughout my current position, I am first a special education teacher. I'm secondly a school building and district administrator. I'm a licensed behavior analyst and a board certified behavior analyst as well. I seek feedback from all members of the community in which I currently work. I've worked through a very significant school cultural change within my school program, and I have given feedback to many teachers and staff over my tenure there. In closing, again, I would just say that I, as a parent of 3 young children, as Bob mentioned, they are young, and I would like to make a difference in Mohonasen, and I would really like to help Mohan move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Spadaro?
Thank you. Wow, that was very good. Well, first of all, my name is Gary Sparrow. I've served on the board for 9 years, and I'd like to start off by thanking Dr. Spring, the administrators, for putting this evening together. I also like to thank the candidates as well, and especially Bob for those kind words. You'll always be a friend, man. And I love serving with you the last few times, the few years we were there. And I also like to say it takes a lot of courage for you guys to be up here, because there's been years in the last 10 years we had to actually beg people to run. So it's pretty cool that this is actually happening. So I do like the idea that we have this. You must love what you're going to be doing to serve, and without a shadow of a doubt, I do love Mohonasen. This school has done so much for me personally. It started with providing me a great education and a lifetime of great memories. I've had relationships with teachers that grew into adult relationships and that I cherish today. But the giving didn't stop there. The Board of Education, the seat, gave me the opportunity to see some of the things that I actually had changes in my own life. And one of those things were, as Bob mentioned, was feeding children. One of the things when I served, we noticed that kids were having some challenges over the weekend with food. And what we decided to do, as I worked out with a lot of our nurses, our faculty, our staff, our principals, we put together a weekend serving program. I'm happy to say we're serving over 142 kids today. Also, not only here, but also in Chalmont and other areas. This is paid for by love donations and raising money. Like we're having a donation to Dine tonight at the recovery room. So I urge everyone to come out and help support that. That would be great. The other thing that actually kind of happened through that, the last time I was up here last year, I was working with Syracuse City Mission, and I can happily say that we are now serving 500 students and growing out in Syracuse. And I'd like to applaud all the teachers, the administrators, and principals who helped me get this program up and running. So we actually planted the seed at Mohonasen that is now serving other communities down the road, and it was here, and I can't be prouder of that. And there isn't a day that goes by when I'm out working for that or working with those groups and remembering those times sitting in Mrs. Clapp's office going through things and saying it just started. So it was pretty cool how that, and I want to thank you guys for that. So whether I win or lose, I love the school, and I got to say, we're serving the last 9 years. It was a privilege. I must say, though, I did enjoy my Monday Night Football last year, so that was pretty cool. But a piece of me actually did die, though. So I did enjoy my time up here. That's why I'm doing it again. But rest assured, if I do not get service, I will. Can I buy those minutes? Okay, great. I will keep working. So in conclusion, I'd like to say thank you for the 9 years that I had to serve, and I ask graciously for 3 more. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with you, Mrs. Escobar. As a member of the school board, you're required to devote long hours, help shape education policy, be able to understand complex education issues, and show leadership that will help the district move forward. What qualities or experience do you have that make you suited for this position?
Well, I talked about my 23 years of experience as a teacher. It was more than just teaching. I ran a program for the middle school for gifted and talented students and wrote curriculum, created opportunities that helped them to succeed. Since I retired 2 years ago, I've been an education activist because, as I said, I got very concerned about what testing and Common Core were doing to our students and that they were losing their joy of learning and their self-confidence. So I started a blog that's become nationally recognized and actually has been picked up in several papers like Washington Post, etc. And I also have been lobbying at the state and federal level. I've gone to Congress. I go and I talk to people about the issues that are occurring, the unfunded mandates and the lack of support for schools and for teachers. So I think that I've been busier in my retirement than I was when I was working. My husband can attest to the fact that some days I'm on the computer all day long, just kind of connecting with people all over the nation. So I have a view of what is going on that extends beyond our local area, but I have an understanding of how it could impact our local school. And that's why I wanted to run for the board. I think there are forces at work that we need to be proactive in defending our school against those. So that, I hope I answered the question that you asked. And thank you.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Would you mind? Thank
Nope, not at all. As a member of the school board, you're required to devote long hours, help shape education policy, be able to understand complex education issues, and show leadership that will help the district move forward. What qualities or experience do you have that make you suited for this position?
Well, first of all, I'm a father. So as a parent, I've dedicated, I think, my adult life to making sure my children had all the opportunities available to them, especially in this district. And we're parents first, and I think you're a leader if you're a parent. Based on my last 3 years, I have spent long nights here, some longer than others. Had the privilege of being the president of the board the last year, and really had to train up and learn a lot of the educational issues. So I am not an expert, and that's where we rely on our administrators and our faculty and a diverse board that brings different talents and expertise. And that's why I commend Deb Escobar for running, and that's why I look to Dr. Spring a lot, and I look to the other experts for relative areas. I bring a lifetime in this town. I bring a adult lifetime of leadership experience in the military and the civilian sector, a passion to learn and trying to work in a collaborative environment and being a problem solver. I'm going to read one more Colin Powell quote, and I promise it'll be the last one tonight. He says, "A day you're not solving problems or not up to your butt in problems is probably a day you're no longer leading. If your desk is clean and no one is bringing you problems, you should be very worried. It means that people don't think you can solve them or don't want to hear about them. Or far worse, it means they don't think you care. I care, and that's why I'm here." Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Would you like me to read it again?
Sure.
As a member of the school board, you are required to devote long hours, help shape education policy, be able to understand complex education issues, and show leadership that will help the district move forward. What qualities or experience do you have that make you suited for this position?
Well, similar to Bob was saying, from a quality perspective, I am a parent of 3 young children. I have a 3rd grader, a kindergartner, and a 2-year-old, so we will have children in school for quite a bit longer, as my husband tells me. Second to that, I have over 20 years of experience in the education field. My passion does lie within special education, absolutely. It's always been that way. I am currently the associate director of the program that I work for, the school that I work for, and I oversee the curriculum instruction and assessment for all of the students. I also oversee the teaching department in my school, and I feel as though from a leadership perspective I can see all of the issues at hand from a parent perspective, a teacher perspective, as well as an administrator perspective. In my current position as associate director, we interface with over 60 school districts in 9 counties throughout New York State. I engage frequently in professional development surrounding leadership and facilitation skills. I believe that I have a very collaborative approach with everyone that I meet and everyone that I work with, whether it is at work or outside of work, involved in my children's activities and in the community. I'm very proactive. I shape policy in my current position, again, through professional development and within the field of special education. That's it. Thank you.
One more time. As a member of the school board, you're required to devote long hours, help shape education policy, be able to understand complex education issues, and show leadership that will help the district move forward. What qualities or experience do you have that make you suited for this position?
Okay, well, if you asked me this question about 10 years ago, I would say I had zero. All right, I came in here with very little knowledge about education. I basically came onto the board with the love for Mohonasen. I actually sat on the foundation board for many years prior to my kids even going to school here. Born and raised as Bob is as well. My wife and I decided to actually live in this area because we were high school sweethearts. That's what we were. So we ran around these halls together. It was cool. But at the end of the day, we decided to actually, raise our family here. So I've already put in a lot of long hours. I can remember many times, even with the project that we worked on, going where it went down, and we had to go out and actually remarket that project to the community and basically change it and what have you. The many times, and we walked through the old Draper building wearing hard hats. That was fun. So yeah, I put in a lot of those hours. Now, how am I as a leader? I come as a business owner, and now the director of social enterprise for the Schenectady City Mission. The way I lead is I use a 5-star approach: love, listen, learn, lead, and lift. The way I do that is the love for Mohonasen. I want to listen to the teachers. I want to lead people and to the direction that we need to be led, using the professionalism of the people that we have here. We've got great administrators, great teachers. I think we're in great hands. We've done so far pretty good. So, and then we want to lift the people. We want to be able to create an environment that the teachers, the students, most importantly, and the administrators want to come to work and come to school. So that's kind of really what I'm about. And I want to make sure that the students have the same experience that I had here. And how Mohonasen served me, I hope Mohonasen can serve them.
Thank you. Mr. Piccirillo, we will start with you with question number 2. The world is constantly changing, and many of the jobs our children and grandchildren will hold do not currently exist. With the opening of the Center for Advanced Technology next fall, Mohonasen has taken a proactive step in preparing our students to enter this constantly changing global marketplace. If you could expand education in our district in one area, what would it be?
Well, I think you probably have hit the nail on the head, and it's probably technology-based education, specific and education in STEM topics. I've traveled all over the Northeast with my daughter this year, attending not only college visits but accepted students days, and they all have 2 themes. The first theme is that the way of the future in our country and globally is through science and technology. The other part that they emphasize is that the humanities and the arts are still important. And I think that we thrive there, both musically, artistically, our ELA instruction, and through our instruction of U.S. and world history. And I like to call it the MCAT building because I want people to understand it's the Mohonasen Center for Advanced Technology, and I emphasize that. We're basically taking ourselves to the next level, and here are the topics: electrical technology, gaming, multimedia and web design, health professions, machining and manufacturing, materials technology, media arts, nanotechnology, and welding. We've identified what those needs are, and through great work by the administration, by the boards, both present and past, and with support from the community, we're making it possible. It's not without risk. That's a big building. We need to fill it. Dr. Spring, I think, has done great work in building collaborative relationships with stakeholders that are going to use it and occupy it and pay us to use it. But first and foremost, it's a Mohonasen building, and we need to take advantage of that. So to answer your question, we've already identified what it is, and we're well on our way to proceeding. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Quinn? Would you like me to reread it?
Yes, please.
I'm going to cut to the chase a little bit to condense time here.
Okay.
Many of the jobs our children and grandchildren will have currently do not exist. The center will open next fall, which is a sort of a proactive step on the district's part. If you could expand education in our district in one area, what would it be?
I would agree with Mr. Piccirillo in the sense that it would be in the technology-based, as Mohonasen has already done. I also would, I have to say that my children themselves have been involved in many of the STEM activities, and I do like serving that younger piece. Obviously, as an elementary parent, I am looking at that. I don't have older students yet in the district, so I am looking at the elementary piece, and I think that's so important, and I've seen in my own children their interest and excitement in things like STEM. With my passion in special education, I also would like to make sure that the district is inclusive of all students, whether it be disability or not, that all students have the opportunities here, whether it be within the new technology center, as jobs are expanding. I've read all of the literature and research that we have available to us on the CTE programs, and I just want to make sure that everyone is included in that. If in any way as a board member I could assist in facilitating and collaborating new ways for all students to be included, I would like to be able to do that. Thank you.
Mr. Spadaro. Sorry.
Yes. Okay. Well, I agree. The world is getting flatter as we go. And I want to echo what Bob was saying. And I think the past boards have worked very diligently in making sure that we were ready for the future. So what I would like to work on is, and I'm pretty proud of this next program too, is our MOTEC program. I think the MOTEC program is something that we should be proud of as well. And I think we should start, because we've got that moving. We can't just keep laying. We got to keep moving forward. We're either moving forward or losing ground. I'd like to do some more collaboration with outside entities like the Challenger program in Schenectady. That Challenger program in Schenectady is up and coming. They got great new grants that are actually working in that and working with NASA. So I really like to actually get maybe a team together to be part of that Challenger program because it's right in our backyard. I recently was part of their foundation and doing some fundraising with them, and we're actually getting schools from Rochester and all around the state to come here. So my thing would be is we got our building, we've got the technology thing working. Let's keep the collaboration and keep moving this forward.
Thank you. Mrs. Escobar.
I agree with what everybody said, and I've been very, very excited about the Center for Advanced Technology. The STEM is very important today. But as Bob said, it's not everything. We still have to pay attention to our humanities, our wonderful arts program, our music program. These are the areas that unfortunately have been weakened by the Common Core reforms that have gone in because they're not emphasized in the Common Core. So I would think that I would love to see our schools stay strong in those areas. My own son graduated the art department at Mohonasen, and it was a wonderful experience for him. But the STEM is wonderful as well because the center is going to give alternate pathways for success. We talk a lot about college readiness, but not all students are going to go to a four-year college, and not all students are going to go to college right out of high school. Some are going to wait a couple years and go back. They're going to want to get some skills and some alternate pathways that'll help them to succeed in whatever they decide to do. And I see the center for doing that. I mean, we're going to have students who are able to get certificates and get real life job experience there. And that is precious. That is like a wonderful, wonderful thing. I'm so proud of our district for that. And I guess I would just say I also am very impressed with the enrichment opportunities that Mohonasen is offering. Especially, I heard at a board meeting a couple months back, internships, people getting experience in law and all kinds of wonderful things. So I'd like to see that continue as well.
Thank you. Mrs. Quinn, the next question will begin with you. School districts are dealing with an increasing number of challenging issues, including state assessments, a rise in perceived threats against schools, as well as balancing the rights of transgender students with those of the rest of the population. What do you perceive is your role as a board member in dealing with issues such as these?
That's a good question. I, as a board member, well, first and foremost, I should say, as an educator myself, I do believe that all students need exposure to everything that we can offer them. I think that as a board member, I would work collaboratively with the other board members of education. I would work with our teachers, our administrators, to see what was going to work best for our students. I will reflect on the letter from the Mohonasen Board of Education regarding the Common Core standards and testing that was sent out in March. I was very pleased as a parent to receive that letter. I do believe that we need to continue to engage our elected officials in helping see where the issues lie. I'm happy to note that I recently received a letter from our commissioner saying that there have been standard reviews committees developed that are working very closely with the state and our teachers to ensure that everything is being examined and that students are not being tested when they shouldn't be, and that things are being examined. I think that there is a need for student assessment as time goes on, because we do need to make sure that students are learning and growing, but I think that it can be done in a much more collaborative nature, and I would really be looking to our teachers in Mohonasen to really help facilitate that. As a family, my children have been exposed to nothing but the best so far from a teacher perspective, and the learning that they have done and the growth that we have seen so far, we couldn't be happier. So I know that we are doing good things, and I would just hope to continue to work collaboratively with the board and our teaching and administrative staff.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to echo that as well, not so you will reiterate that, but as a board member, you have to work collaboratively with your other board members and also your administrators and your teachers and all the staff, right down to the people who are helping us every day keep our school clean. They bring in a lot of good and valuable information as well. As for what we need to do, I too have 2 kids that came through the school, and I can't tell you I'm tickled pink with the education that they're getting. I mean, they had some of the best teachers and some great relationships even to this day. There's going to be tough times and tough decisions that we have to make, like we had to make in the past, and we have to lean on our administrators and our teachers, and I think we have to learn to listen, learn from them, and then hopefully give them the tools that they need to move through some of these hard situations. So that's how.
Thank you.
I hear the question.
Yes, of course. School districts are dealing with an increasing number of challenging issues, including state assessments, a rise in perceived threats against schools, as well as balancing the rights of transgender students with those of the rest of the population. What do you perceive is your role as a board member in dealing with issues such as these?
I have a very deep understanding of the state assessments that are going forward as they've been written in the last few years and analyzed carefully after the testing. The grade level difficulty of these tests is not appropriate for our students. For example, in this year's test, one example comes to mind, 6th grade language test gave them an 11th grade 17th century poem to analyze. And they also ask questions with equally plausible answer choices that are very difficult to discern. To my mind, and from what I've studied over the past 4 years, I can only gasp at the fact that they know these tests are too difficult for our children. 70% of our children are not passing, or not being achieved as proficient, and it's making a whole generation of students feel like failures. And when I saw that happening, I said, I cannot stand by and watch this idly happening to our children who are so valuable and so precious. So I would stand forth on any of that discussion. The tests have not gotten easier. They have not gotten substantially shorter. We have not seen the change we need to see. I would keep pushing for that. And I also would want to say that I would respect all members of this community. I want to hear all voices, and I want to respect all persons. And whatever those issues are, you can be sure that I would be respectful and fair to every individual.
Thank you.
So
Mr.
the
Piccirillo.
challenges you read, I think I introduced in my opening, and I hope everyone will attest, I didn't have advanced knowledge of what we were going to talk about. So the lesson is we're dealing with that, and they are difficult issues. I'll name 3 things. Learning from lessons of past, and one of the things I think we learned as a board and as a community last year is, whether true or not, the perception was that people weren't being listened to and their opinions weren't being respected. And we've tried really, I think, through some struggle to open the dialogue. An example, as Heather pointed out, was the board letter where we took a proactive step to respect and address all sides of the equation and tell everyone that we were listening to them and giving them a chance to do what they thought was best for their families. Second step was opening communication, not only through the letter, but I think we needed to make a better attempt, and I think we did, of getting out there and engaging not only in the community but in our schools. An example is the Coffees and Conversation. We actually got out there, talked to faculties and staff, had some of the building leaders walk us around, and got feedback, both positive and constructive, which is what we need to really to grow and move forward. I'll point to our goal setting. I think we did a better job of trying to narrow down the focus of the goals and identify achievable and reachable goals. Two of those were addressing threats in our community, and the main source of those threats is social media. Social media can be used as a positive, but it's also a threat, and it's being used destructively. We're seeing that every day, including in our own district. And ensuring that our community is inclusive and welcoming to all, including those with special needs that need our most care. And as you mentioned, the transgender students in dealing with those issues with empathy and compassion, and making sure that everyone is treated equally and treated respectfully. Thank you.
All right. We'll now move to the next question. I'm actually, in the interest of time, going to try to combine two audience questions, and we will start with you, Mr. Spadaro. The role of the board is to implement relevant laws, rules, and regulations, among other things. However, the opt-out movement seems to have been at the forefront of conversation. How can you assure us, if elected, that you will implement tests appropriately and leave the determination of appropriate testing to the governor, legislature, and Board of Regents? It's a long question, but I'm going to add one other little part, which is, the whole testing movement, people have been very vocal about it, and some people are feeling pressured to opt out. How do you balance those different viewpoints if elected? So, again, balancing leaving the testing piece to the governor, legislature, and Board of Regents, and also balancing different viewpoints as it relates to testing.
Can I opt out of that question? So, whoa! Okay, well, here's the thing. Well, all right, well, here's the thing. I opt out of that question. So, here's my view on the opt-out piece. I don't know if I'm for or against the opt-out, to be completely honest with you. I believe that there's a place for testing, and I think testing is good because it gives you a thing to measure. And if it's not measurable, it's not worth it, in my opinion. I also believe that when does the government ever give you an option to make a choice? Right? So they've given us the option to opt out of tests or what have you. I think it's a personal choice. I think if your child is got anxieties or what have you, then and it's not right for your family structure, then you opt out. I think that's something that the families should come up against. I think the school district should have the opportunity, or should give all the information that's available to the parents so they can make a good decision. And then after that, then it's kind of up to that family and what they believe is right for them. My personal opinion is my kids took tests. I mean, that's just what they were, and I was okay with that. I also was here at the last board meeting, and I heard a child come up and talk about his anxieties and what have you, and I know with one of my kids that probably wouldn't work very well either, and but we worked through that. So I hope I answered the question somewhat, but I guess I would work with my administrators, teachers, and parents and give them the information and basically give them a choice. I have a personal view. My personal view is this: the best view of government is in my rearview mirror driving away from it. So for me, I like to keep them in the back. So if they're going to give me a choice, that's pretty cool. We never usually get choices when it comes to that. So there it is in a nutshell. I don't think it should be our only issue. We're here for the kids and giving them the best opportunity that they have.
Thank you.
And giving them the experience that they need. I bought some minutes back from Bob.
His minutes are out. We've used those up, yeah. No more extra minutes. Do you want me to read the
No.
whole thing?
I remember when I was in college taking a course on Chinese philosophy and being excited about the idea that when a government is wrong, you have a duty to oppose that government. You have a duty to stand up for those who are being wronged. I have, with every deepest part of my soul, an understanding right now that these tests, I'm going to get emotional because that's how deeply I've been into it. These tests are hurting our children. I will not stand by idly and let that happen. I will fight with everything that I have. I have already fought. I go to the state legislators. Governor won't see me, but I've gone to his office. I go to the national halls of Congress. I talk to a number, not just from New York, I talk to anyone and everyone I could find who's on an education committee. I went about the new Every Child Succeeds Act and talked about what was bothersome about that act and what was helpful with that act and asked for advocating for our children. And I will continue to do that. It's who I am. And it's important. Who is it that's most vulnerable in our society? Our children. If we do not protect them, who will?
Thank you. Mr. Piccirillo?
Well, your question involved our views and our responsibilities as a board member. So, we talk about Common Core, and I've really researched it, and I've tried to become intimate with it. There's three parts to it, and really all the debate seems to be around the assessments. And one thing I've learned about education in the public sector is that profit and education don't work. And using a for-profit company to create the assessments is a mistake. The second part is APPR, and I'll point to the teacher in Great Neck, Long Island, who was rated outstanding, had her PhD, but because her students were already effective, her growth factor rating was actually ineffective. That points to something that needs fixing. But we don't talk enough about the curriculum. And Dr. Spring, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to refer to one of your beautifully written pieces about what inspired you, and I look back to Mr. Walter Harvey, and if you haven't read it, take a chance to read it. And he talks, his classroom was completely different from any other I had experienced. From day one, the room was set up as a medieval castle, and students in the classroom were assigned post positions that existed within that time period and culture. Every student was expected to learn to play chess to facilitate strategic thinking. The other amazing thing about Mr. Harvey was his ability to individualize learning and key in on each of our abilities. And my concern personally is, does the curriculum requirements handcuff our teachers to be able to give that kind of creative and intimate educational experience to our students? That's my personal concern. But as a board member and as the current president, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the district. 40% of our budget is funded by the legislature and regulated by the state education department. The mothership, SED, is 15 miles away. I feel we have a responsibility to protect the district, and the solution that we came up with was the letter that Heather basically alluded to. And here are two key points, and I hope not to run over. Parents and guardians are encouraged to make informed decisions.
I'm gonna have to
Deference,
cut you off.
understanding, and support is encouraged among the Mohonasen community as issues related to Common Core are worked out at the state level. I think that's our solution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to?
Nope.
Are you
okay.
good? Okay.
Yep. I think that I feel about this topic similar to a lot of my counterparts up here. I do think it's important to continually balance the different viewpoints. I think that our district does provide and has provided us with very good, solid understanding of what's happening at the state level. I think that we have to individualize for our students. We need to look at each individual family. As a board member, I would hope that we would be working collaboratively to come up with that information, to be able to provide that in the best way to our families and really be doing that outreach if there are questions or there are individualized issues. Again, as a special educator, I know that there are. I also know that our teachers are differentiating instruction on a daily basis from one end to the other, and I've seen that firsthand. I think that it's important to continue with an open dialogue with our teachers and our administrators from a board perspective. I think that since we are, again, as stated in the letter from the Board of Education this spring, that we are mandated to administer those tests right now, that is currently where we're at. But I do think Mohonasen's Board of Education is working very, very hard to support everyone, including our state education department. There does need to be standards in place, whether it be if you're working in a store or you're working in education. There do need to be certain standards to be measured against. All of us even have personal standards. But I do think that continuing to look at all pieces of it and work together is important, and it looks to me as if the board is doing that.
Thank you. We're going to conclude with, you each have 1 minute, and I'm going to stick to that 1 minute, so no extra seconds here for your closing statement. And we'll start with you again, Mrs. Escobar.
As I've gone door to door and met very many parents throughout the district, I spoke to a number of them who expressed worry about the Common Core, worry about what it's doing to their children. I remember one woman told me her second-grade granddaughter comes home at night and cries over math homework every night. It's not our excellent teachers. It's inappropriate, developmentally inappropriate standards that need to be adjusted, that need to be fixed so that our kids can feel like success. School districts across our state and nation are also being weakened with unfunded state mandates and a greater need for remediation. And instead of getting staff and resources to make a difference, schools have been forced into receivership across our state. I'm worried that the end result of that would be a takeover by charters, and I won't sit by and watch that unfold, because if it's happening down the road, if it's happening in the big cities, it's going to hit the suburbs sooner or later, and I'm going to continue to fight back against any force that labels our students, our school, or our teachers as failures.
Thank you. Mr. Piccirillo.
Thank you. 2.5 months ago, our district suffered a horrific tragedy. Not only did the district lose a beloved colleague, but little ones were explained to why the teacher they had one day was gone the next. And a young man lost his entire family. And I don't mention this to politicize the tragedy. What I want to do is point to what our community did together. Came together to, as a community and a family, to grieve, to console, and to slowly start to heal. And really that points to everything that's good and decent about our district as a community, as a family. Regardless of how this turns out, we're going to be okay and we're going to work together. And that's the message I'd like to conclude with. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Quinn.
As I said, thank you for having me here tonight. I was delighted to be up here and to be offering my viewpoints and opinions on the Board of Education. I have been so happy with Mohonasen so far. My children are very, very happy here. The growth I see in them from a parent perspective and what I see happens to them on a daily basis as they're educated, their whole child is educated. I see arts, I see music, I see athletics. All of those things to me just represent school and what Mohonasen does so well. I would be very proud to be a member of the Board of Education, and I thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Spadaro.
I'd like to say thank you for the 9 years that I served, and I also like to say I'm Mohan proud. I love the work that we've done in the past. I want to continue to keep doing that work moving forward. I want to collaborate with both the teachers, also with the administrators and the students. My kids are actually getting older now, and I gotta say, they're having the same fond memories that I did. So I'm happy to see that happen. I love the work that we've done. I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done, but I can't be happier being part of this Mohonasen family. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for your participation. You've survived this. Now there's just another week to go. And thank you all for being here. I just want to remind you that the budget vote is Tuesday, May 17th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. You will have the school budget, the board candidates, and a bus proposition. You can find additional information at the district website, www.mohonasen.org. And thank you again for being here. Good night.